What makes a musician's legacy truly last? Is it the records they sell, the awards they win, or something much deeper? For Alex Lifeson, the answer has never been about fame. When he speaks about Neil Peart, he isn't just remembering one of rock's greatest drummers. He's remembering a lifelong friend whose influence continues to grow years after his passing. Rush was never an ordinary band. For more than 40 years, Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, and Neil Peart built a career on pushing musical boundaries. Together, they created songs that challenged listeners with complex rhythms, thoughtful lyrics, and unforgettable performances. But behind the legendary concerts and platinum albums was a friendship built on trust, respect, and an endless drive to improve. Neil Peart joined Rush in 1974, just before the band's first U.S. tour. His arrival changed everything. His extraordinary drumming gave Rush a new musical identity, while his thoughtful lyrics became the voice behind classics like Tom Sawyer, Limelight, The Spirit of Radio, and Subdivisions. Over the decades, fans came to admire not only his incredible technical ability, but also his relentless work ethic and humble personality. When Neil passed away in January 2020 after a private battle with brain cancer, the music world mourned the loss of a true icon. For Alex Lifeson, however, it wasn't simply the end of a remarkable musical partnership. It was the loss of someone he had shared nearly half a century of life with. Yet despite that heartbreaking loss, Alex has repeatedly expressed that Neil's presence has never truly disappeared. Every time Rush's music is played, every young drummer studies Neil's performances, and every fan discovers the band's catalog for the first time. His legacy continues to grow. To millions of fans, Alex Lifeson and Neil Peart were bandmates who created some of the greatest progressive rock music ever recorded. But behind the scenes, their relationship was built on decades of shared experiences, challenges, and mutual respect. Alex has often described Neil as a private person. Unlike many rock stars, Neil preferred staying out of the spotlight when he wasn't performing. He loved traveling by motorcycle, reading history and philosophy, and constantly learning. While his quiet personality sometimes made him seem distant to outsiders, those closest to him knew he had a sharp sense of humor and a deeply caring heart. That balance worked perfectly within Rush. Alex brought warmth and spontaneity, Geddy Lee provided steady musical leadership, and Neil contributed unmatched discipline and creativity. Instead of competing with one another, each member pushed the others to become better musicians. Alex has recalled that rehearsals were never about showing off, they were about serving the music. Neil approached every performance with incredible preparation, often practicing even after decades of worldwide success. His philosophy was simple: there was always room to improve. That mindset inspired Alex throughout Rush's career. Watching Neil dedicate countless hours to perfecting every detail reminded everyone around him that greatness isn't achieved by talent alone. It comes from relentless commitment. Even after Rush stopped touring in 2015, following the R40 Live tour, their friendship remained strong. Although they spent less time together because Neil had retired from performing and focused on family life, the respect they shared never faded. Years later, Alex would realize that Neil had left behind something far more valuable than unforgettable drum performances. It was a way of thinking about music, discipline, and life itself. After Neil Peart's passing on January 7, 2020, fans around the world wondered whether Rush's story had truly come to an end. Tributes poured in from legendary musicians, drummers, and longtime listeners who wanted to honor the man whose playing had changed modern rock. For Alex Lifeson, the grief was deeply personal. In interviews following Neil's death, he has spoken openly about missing his friend and reflecting on the extraordinary years they spent together. But rather than focusing only on the sadness, Alex has consistently emphasized something else. Neil's influence is still alive. Every day, young drummers discover Rush for the first time. They study Neil's precise footwork, his creative fills, and his ability to combine technical brilliance with genuine emotion. Music schools analyze his performances, while countless YouTube channels continue breaking down his techniques for new generations of players. But Alex believes Neil's greatest gift wasn't simply his incredible drumming. It was his constant pursuit of excellence. Neil never allowed himself to become comfortable. Even after Rush had sold millions of albums and filled arenas around the world, he continued taking lessons to improve his skills. One of the most remarkable examples came in the 1990s, when he began studying with renowned drum instructor Freddie Gruber. Neil was already considered one of the greatest rock drummers ever, yet he willingly rebuilt parts of his technique from the ground up because he believed learning never ends. That level of humility left a lasting impression on Alex. It proved that true greatness isn't about believing you've reached the top. It's about always striving to become better. Today, Alex sees Neil's legacy every time a young musician chooses to practice one more hour, every time a songwriter refuses to settle for ordinary, and every time Rush's music inspires someone to think differently. As the years have passed, Alex Lifeson has shared stories that reveal who Neil Peart was away from the spotlight. While fans remember the dazzling drum solos and sold-out arenas, Alex often remembers something much simpler, the quiet moments that defined Neil's character. Neil wasn't interested in celebrity. He cared about doing things well, treating people with respect, and constantly expanding his knowledge. Whether he was reading books, writing, traveling by motorcycle, or preparing for a tour, he approached every part of life with curiosity and discipline. That attitude shaped the entire culture of Rush. Alex has said that one reason the band stayed together for more than 4 decades was because the 3 members respected one another. They handled disagreements as professionals, trusted each other's judgment, and always put the music first. In an industry where many successful bands fall apart because of ego or conflict, Rush remained remarkably united. Neil played a major role in creating that environment. His thoughtful approach encouraged Alex and Geddy Lee to keep raising their own standards. Every album became another opportunity to experiment, whether it meant exploring synthesizers in the 1980s, returning to heavier guitar-driven rock in the 1990s, or continuing to evolve on later records like Clockwork Angels. Looking back, Alex doesn't see Neil's legacy as frozen in the past. He sees it as something that continues to inspire creativity today. Every musician who takes the harder path instead of the easier one reflects the same dedication Neil lived by. That is why Alex believes Neil's influence can never disappear. His legacy isn't confined to old recordings or concert films. It lives in the values he demonstrated every single day: discipline, humility, curiosity, and an unwavering commitment to excellence.